All right. Sounds like we have a special report from NBC News. We're going to send it over to them right now.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Lester Holt.
Good afternoon. We're coming on the air with breaking news and an exciting moment for American space travel. The 9-month space saga for NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams is officially coming to an end. Right now, Williams and Wilmore are on board a SpaceX capsule that will soon re-enter the atmosphere. Just minutes from now, the capsule is set to splash down off the Gulf Coast of Florida, back here on Earth after what was one of the most unusual and closely watched chapters in American space travel. Never before has a 10-day test flight turned into a 9-month-long mission in space. Williams and Wilmore became household names as the first crew to take the Boeing Starliner to the International Space Station before it returned to Earth without them due to technical issues. But today, after more than 280 days in orbit, Williams and Wilmore are finally coming home. We want to go to our friend Tom Costello right now, who covers space for us. Tom, we're looking at an image. We assume that's the capsule coming down. But there's also been a loss of signal that I understand was planned for.
Just now, they've reconnected with them. So they now have reestablished signal and comms. That is normal. It happens when they are at maximum heat. A total of 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit is the maximum heat, and that's the plasma buildup you see right there, the glow in the sky. That's the plasma buildup around the spaceship as it re-enters the atmosphere, screaming into the atmosphere, Lester, at 17,500 miles per hour, and now begins the process as the air gets thicker and thicker and denser, that slows down the capsule, and then they're able to finally deploy the chutes. At about 18,000 feet up, they'll deploy 2 drogue chutes, if you will, and then that will keep that ship moving from about 350 miles per hour down to about 119 miles per hour, and that's when they deploy 4 of the main chutes. But they are now very much on target for a landing in the Gulf, right off of the coast of Tallahassee, and the ships are on site, ready to immediately move into the capsule and ensure that it is safe and the astronauts are safe. Everything right now, completely normal. There's the astronauts. A reminder, if I could, Lester, that you've got not just Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, you've got the Crew 9 commander is Nick Hague, and the cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov also on board as they are now just minutes away from splashing down.
And Tom, let me ask you this. The whole plan for this mission was for them to go up and down on that Boeing Starliner. Obviously, that not happening. But does that mean that this crew, at least that Butch and Suni, are not necessarily trained up to this particular spacecraft? Or is that even necessary? Is this more of an automated ride home?
You're 100% right. That's been the challenge because Butch and Suni trained to go up and come back on Boeing Starliner, not a SpaceX ship, a Dragon. And now they're coming along for the ride home without really having trained. They had to train actually while they were in the station. NASA had to send them up special spacesuits because their Boeing spacesuits would not work in a SpaceX ship. Look at that.
Yeah, let me interrupt you here just a second. This is the best image we've had now of the capsule. There go. That's a drogue chute I'm looking at.
There you go. That's right. The 2 sets of parachutes are now starting. 2 drogue chutes right there. 18,000 feet while it's moving at about 350 miles per hour. Beautiful. Right on the money.
Excited as Dragon Freedom continues.
Jose Hernandez is with me, a former NASA astronaut. Jose, as we look at this picture, this looks like old school NASA, like back to the Gemini and Mercury days, coming down in the ocean under a parachute.
It does, doesn't it? And originally, I think SpaceX wanted to land on ground with having retrojets, but they abandoned that as being too expensive, so they went back to the water.
Okay, we're going to listen in here for a moment now as the spaceship makes the final moments of its descent.
Miles per hour when it splashes down off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida, here at 2:57 p.m. Pacific time this afternoon. And there we go.
We have visual on 4 healthy mains.
That view was from inside.
Freedom copy.
Okay, just to be clear, that's the main chute that is open right now. You heard the applause. That's a really good thing that this spacecraft is now safely under the parachutes on its proper descent profile to the water.
4 beautiful, healthy names. Now awaiting visuals of splashdown.
Freedom. 1,000.
We'll start to hear Commander Nick Hague.
Copy 1000.
As we heard right there, Commander Nick Hague will be calling out the altitude of the Dragon capsule from here on out. Landing in water is simpler and provides more margin against unlikely parachute issues. You can see those parachutes continuing to slow the Dragon capsule down.
And if you're just joining us, you're looking at
800 meters.
a live view of Crew 9 just minutes away from splashing down off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida. Splashdown 2 minutes from now at 2:57 p.m. Pacific. We do have 4 healthy mains really doing the job there. Just breathtaking views of a calm, glass-like ocean off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida. Crew 9 just minutes away from splashing down.
This is really such an incredible shot.
Copy 600.
That was a live view from our recovery vessel, Megan, which is stationed a couple miles away from the splashdown site. We can see the crew there using their restraints as resting places for their arms. They were just in space moments ago, so their arms were able to float freely.
400 meters.
This is a gorgeous bluebird day here that we have for the splashdown of Crew 9. It's incredible to think that the Dragon capsule just minutes ago was going over 17,000 miles per hour, and now gently coasting to a soft splashdown.
200.
Copy 200 meters. Brace for splashdown.
As you can see there on your screen, continuing to monitor progress of the Dragon spacecraft. And we're going to stand by for splashdown located in the Gulf of America off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
Well, you see it with your own eyes. That spacecraft now safely in the water there. You can see the main chutes now settling into the water. The spacecraft, SpaceX Crew 9 return, as it's being called. 4 astronauts and 3 astronauts and a cosmonaut on board. And they will soon be surrounded by vessels and safely lifted aboard another vessel for the return home. Tom Costello watching with us. Tom, everything going as expected so far?
Absolutely perfect. And what you're going to soon see are 2 fast boats very quickly approaching the ship. And these 2 fast boats, they have 2 different jobs. One of them is to make sure that the ship itself, the spaceship, is safe and secure. They want to make sure that there isn't any propellant vapor or vapors that might pose a risk. And then the second fast boat crew is going to come in and pick up those parachutes that you see in the water there. Ultimately, once they make sure that the ship is safe, then you're going to see
of the NASA SpaceX Crew 9 capsule return to Earth. NBC Nightly News will have much more about the return of the astronauts coming up at 6:30.